But the dark future, which never came, still exists for me. And it always will.
In the world of science fiction, few franchises have explored the concept of alternate futures as thoroughly as the Terminator series. The phrase,
"There is no fate but what we make for ourselves,"
serves as the philosophical cornerstone of James Cameron's vision. Ironically, one of the most significant alternate futures for the franchise itself takes the form of a deleted scene from 1991's Terminator 2: Judgment Day. This alternate ending, filmed but ultimately cut from the theatrical release, presents a radically different conclusion to the saga. The good ending where viewers are offered a definitive resolution that would have altered the entire trajectory of the Terminator universe. But why was this not in the final cut? And if this is the ending, did the machines really accept defeat in this timeline and never come back to hurt Sarah or John Connor? Is there a canonical story that picks up from here in other media? We will answer all these questions in this video. Let's begin.
There was no judgment day. People went to work as they always do.
Let's explore the alternate ending in detail. The scene in question takes place in Washington, D.C., approximately 30 years after the main events of T2. The setting includes futuristic buildings visible in the background, suggesting a prosperous, technologically advanced society, one that developed without the catastrophic intervention of Skynet. Linda Hamilton underwent a grueling 6-hour makeup process designed by Stan Winston to transform into a 64-year-old Sarah Connor. She sits on a park bench, recording her thoughts on a device as she watches her son and granddaughter play. Her monologue is both reflective and revelatory. August 29, 1997 came and went. Nothing much happened. Michael Jackson turned 40. There was no judgment day. People went to work as they always do, laughed, complained, watched TV, made love. I wanted to run through the street yelling, to grab them all and say, every day from this day on is a gift. Use it well. Instead, I got drunk. That was 30 years ago. But the dark future which never came still exists for me, and it always will, like the traces of a dream. The camera then reveals adult John Connor, played by Michael Edwards, who has become a US Senator. Sarah explains that politics has become his new battlefield, with common sense and hope as his weapons. When John's daughter runs to Sarah, the once hardened warrior tenderly ties her granddaughter's shoelaces before the child runs back to play. Sarah concludes with the familiar reflection, "The luxury of hope was given to me by the Terminator, because if a machine can learn the value of human life, maybe we can too." This scene would have provided definitive closure to the Terminator saga, confirming that the Connors' actions in destroying Cyberdyne systems permanently altered the timeline and prevented the rise of Skynet. James Cameron made the decision to cut this ending just 2 days before the film was finalized for release. In a DVD commentary, he explained his reasoning. It was somehow, in a sense, tonally unconnected to the rest of the film. There was a sense of, why tie it up with a bow? If the future is changeable, then the battle is something which has to be fought continuously. This artistic concern about maintaining thematic consistency proved crucial to the franchise's future. The majority of T2 operates in a gritty, tension-filled atmosphere where characters fight desperately against seemingly inevitable doom. Shifting to an idyllic park scene with complete resolution would have created a tonal disconnect for audiences. Beyond artistic considerations, the scene presented several narrative challenges. It raised questions about how a juvenile delinquent like young John, associated with a major crime spree by age 10, could become a respected senator. It also complicated the franchise's time travel mechanics. If Judgment Day never occurred, future John couldn't send Kyle Reese or the reprogrammed T-800 back in time, creating a paradox that undermined the events of both films. Perhaps most significantly, from a commercial perspective, this ending would have effectively killed any potential for sequels involving Skynet or future Terminators. The definitive statement that there was no Judgment Day would have closed the narrative loop completely. Timeline implications. The clean break. The alternate ending represents what might be called a clean break timeline, one where the causal loop of the first 2 films is definitively severed. In the theatrical release, Sarah's final voiceover describes the road ahead as unknown and expresses hope rather than certainty. This ambiguity allowed for the possibility that Judgment Day was merely postponed, not prevented entirely. Terminator 3: Rise of the Machines capitalized on this ambiguity, establishing that Judgment Day was indeed inevitable, merely delayed until 2004. The war against the machines was portrayed as a fixed point in time that could be postponed but not eliminated, creating a deterministic view of the timeline. Had the deleted ending remained, this deterministic interpretation would have been impossible. By showing Sarah alive in her 60s, with John an established political leader and father, the scene confirms that the timeline has been permanently altered. The future war never happens, Skynet never gains sentience, and the time loop that defined the franchise is broken. From a narrative perspective, this would have transformed the Terminator story from a cyclical time loop into a linear tale with a definite beginning, middle, and end. The first film establishes the threat, the second resolves it, and the epilogue confirms that resolution is permanent. A neater, more traditional storytelling structure than the complex, branching timelines the franchise eventually adopted. Exploring Skynet-free futures. While this specific elderly Sarah Connor timeline hasn't been directly explored in other Terminator media, several works have examined similar scenarios where Skynet is permanently defeated. The most notable example is the comic miniseries RoboCop vs. the Terminator. After a complex time travel narrative, RoboCop ultimately destroys the Skynet satellite before it can gain sentience. The result is a stunning utopian future characterized by technological advancement and peace. In this timeline, Resistance fighter Flo awakens in a beautiful garden-like setting with no memory of the war except as a strange dream. This peaceful future represents the only fully realized world without Skynet's influence in Terminator media. Terminator: The Sarah Connor Chronicles television series explores an alternative approach to multiple timelines. The show establishes that each act of time travel creates a new branch in the timeline rather than overwriting the original. At one point, two Resistance fighters realize their memories of the future don't match, confirming they come from different timeline branches. This concept of branching realities, rather than a single mutable timeline, offers another interpretation of how the elderly Sarah Connor ending might fit into the larger Terminator mythos. More recently, the anime series Terminator Zero has further embraced multiple branching timelines, with characters explicitly acknowledging that time travel creates new realities rather than changing existing ones. The show includes a plotline where humans and machines are caught in a loop of time travel, creating numerous divergent timelines across which the battle between humanity and AI continues in different forms. These expanded media interpretations offer differing perspectives on worlds without Skynet, though none capture exactly the peaceful Washington, D.C. future that the deleted T2 ending presented. Fate vs. Free Will in Time travel movies. The deleted ending would have significantly altered the thematic core of the Terminator franchise. Throughout the first two films, there's a tension between fate and free will. Can humans truly change their destiny, or are they bound to a predetermined path? The theatrical ending leaves this question somewhat open, with Sarah expressing hope but acknowledging uncertainty. With the deleted ending, this ambiguity is resolved firmly on the side of free will. Humans definitively changed their fate and escaped the nuclear holocaust of Judgment Day. This transforms the franchise's message from "fate is hard to escape, but we must keep fighting" to "humans can absolutely triumph over technological determinism." The scene also represents a significant evolution in Sarah Connor's character arc. In the theatrical version, she remains a warrior to the end, hardened, cautious, and ever vigilant. In the deleted ending, we see her softened by time and vindicated by history. She's become a grandmother who can tie shoes and watch her family play in the park, even if memories of the dark future still haunt her. It's a more complete redemption arc for a character who suffered tremendously throughout both films. Additionally, this ending shifts the franchise's commentary on technology. The theatrical cut maintains the cautionary tale aspect. Technology remains a potential threat requiring constant vigilance. The deleted scene transforms this into a more optimistic message, where humans successfully control technological development and prevented catastrophe, suggesting a more harmonious relationship between humans and their creations is possible. Had this ending remained, the Terminator franchise would have taken a dramatically different path. The most obvious change would be the impossibility of direct sequels featuring Skynet or Judgment Day, Terminator 3, Rise of the Machines, Terminator Salvation, Terminator Genesis, and Terminator Dark Fate, all of which deal with various incarnations of the future war, would have been incompatible with this definitive ending. However, this doesn't mean the franchise would have necessarily ended. One possibility would have been prequels set during the original timeline before it was altered. Another approach could have been stories set in parallel timelines, similar to what the Sarah Connor Chronicles eventually did. The franchise might also have explored Senator John Connor's political career, perhaps dealing with more grounded threats related to artificial intelligence without the apocalyptic elements. And that would have sucked. Who wants to see that crap, isn't it? But from a creative standpoint, this ending might have ultimately benefited the franchise's legacy. The subsequent Terminator sequels have received increasingly negative critical reception, with none matching the artistic achievement of the first two films. Had T2 provided definitive closure, the franchise might be remembered more fondly as a perfect duology rather than a series of diminishing returns. But deep down under, we all want Terminator content to go on, isn't it? The alternate ending of Terminator 2 represents one of cinema's most intriguing what-if scenarios. This ending aligns with similar moments in other science fiction films like I Am Legend's alternate conclusion, where the creatures peacefully depart after the protagonist realizes they're sentient beings, not mindless monsters. Both endings favor resolution and understanding over ongoing conflict, offering a more optimistic view of humanity's future. In many ways, the deleted scene represents the purest expression of the no fate but what we make philosophy that drives the franchise. It shows that human choices can definitively alter the course of history and prevent seemingly inevitable disasters. The fact that Cameron chose not to use this ending suggests a more complex view of fate, one where victory is never final and vigilance must be eternal. And that's all, folks. I didn't intend to make this video this long. I wanted to trim some fat around it, but I am a bit too emotional about Terminator content. It's one of those movie franchises that has influenced me since childhood. Let us know in the comments what you think about the good alternate ending of Terminator 2, and we'll see you in the next one. Till then, be safe and be kind to the chatbot you talk with. Who knows what the future holds? And if you liked our content, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to us if you haven't already. Have a good one and be safe. Thanks everyone.